What's up guys, Roman from RNS Entertainment, here with another edition of Comic History, where I go over the iconic origins and storylines for all sorts of comic book characters. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Punisher versus Anti-Venom, a clash and team-up between two of Marvel Comics' iconic villains slash anti-heroes. With the new casting of Jon Bernthal as the Punisher in Marvel's Daredevil Season 2, and a lot of my comic history videos so far focusing on the symbiotes, this was the perfect next video, and a storyline I enjoy a lot. This takes place in New Ways to Live, Anti-Venom issues 1 through 3. And if you don't know who Anti-Venom is, feel free to check out my Origin of Anti-Venom video, where I go over the beginnings and creation of this character. People can change. Eddie Brock, the former and original host of Venom, has decided to change his ways, relearn empathy towards other human beings, and become a hero, using his new restorative pseudo-symbiote Anti-Venom to fight crime with the help of his informant slash sidekick Jenna, a heroin addict that Eddie has quote-unquote cured of her addiction using his healing powers. She helps him root out the cancer in his city, leading him to a group of heroin dealers who Anti-Venom easily beats down and throws around the room, grabbing the main one by the throat and demanding to know where he can find their distributors, the Quinta Cartel, who the guy says aren't afraid of anyone knowing their location, and points him towards Staten Island before spitting in his face. And after he starts talking shit about Jenna being a junkie for life, Eddie starts to lose it and begins to choke the life out of him before Jenna asks him to not kill anyone in front of her. Afterwards, Eddie thinks to himself that she is innocent. Sure, she's got her addictions, but she tries to do the right thing, and they help keep each other on the right path, or try to at least. And like in so many other symbiote stories, the effect of the symbiotes are comparative to addiction. When Jenna is alone, we see that she's stolen several bags of heroin from the Quinta's men without Eddie knowing, and is captured by a mysterious guy with a big-ass gun, who may or may not be the Punisher. At the house in Staten Island, Eddie shows up right before the head of the Quinta Cartel is about to execute his own men for getting busted, and walks right in without his suit and a big smile on his face. Even though Eddie is attempting to be a hero, he still enjoys beating the hell out of those he considers part of the cancer infecting his city, and likes to see how they treat someone who doesn't seem to be a threat, to get some motivation to really go to town on them. But before he attacks, a shield flies into the room from out of nowhere. But it's not Captain America, it's Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, who's pretty much there for the same reason as Anti-Venom. Together they take out the room of cartel members after Anti-Venom tells Castle that he was the one who took down Norman Osborn's operation. And Anti-Venom also saves Punisher from a hail of bullets before both of them exit the house, seeing that the last cartel member is using Jenna as a human shield, which Punisher couldn't care less about and is about to kill them both because he's the Punisher and that's kind of what he does. In the standoff, Anti-Venom tells Castle that she's working with him to bring down the cartel, and when she calls him Eddie, Punisher puts two and two together and realizes that this is Eddie Brock, the original Venom, who he knows used to be a murderer and a supervillain. So without any thought or hesitation, he whips out a shotgun and shoots Anti-Venom in the back of the head with armor-piercing ammunition. Assuming that Anti-Venom is dead, Punisher once again takes aim at Jenna and the cartel member, saying that she's not a girl, she's a junkie. And once again, this is not the thing you want to say around Anti-Venom, who begins to pop the bullets out of his head, getting up and screaming that she's not a junkie, leaping at Punisher and punching him clear through a wall. And as the cartel members struggle to get out of there, taking Jenna with them, Punisher remote signals his shield to fly back to him, hitting Anti-Venom in the back of the head. But unfazed, Eddie grabs the shield, and when Punisher draws a gun, he grabs that too, pointing it right back at Castle and saying that he'll kill him. But when Punisher tells Anti-Venom that he hasn't changed at all, he remembers Jenna and they receive a message from the head of the Quintas, who declares them both dead, saying that his boys have Jenna and telling Punisher, who knows their location, to bring it on, going on a crazy rant about Mexico until he's literally spitting with every word. Punisher prepares to go to Mexico and take out the Quintas, and Anti-Venom declares that he's coming too, learning from Castle that Jenna had stolen several bags of heroin, him saying that the only way to cure a junkie is to kill them, before suddenly blasting Anti-Venom with flamethrowers and bullets. But this does absolutely nothing to Eddie, who has none of the weaknesses of Venom and pins Frank to the side of a van, laughing at how easy it would be for him to snap his neck and saying that they need to go to Mexico together. On the road there, Punisher is really pissed that he can't kill Anti-Venom and makes another attempt by trying to stab him with a combat knife. In the split second, the woman running the border crossing station turns away from them, which is pretty funny. They show up at the Quinta's base in Rio Comundo Canyon shortly after the cartel members show up with Jenna and get killed by their own boss for not having the money they were supposed to bring him. Punisher tells Anti-Venom to go in first, which he does because he's not afraid of these guys, and Punisher tells his sidekick slash tech guy, who actually thinks Eddie seems like a good guy, that any moment Brock lets his guard down, Punisher plans on putting a bullet in his brain. Eddie walks right into a room of heavily armed men and a ringing phone, and after an awkward silence, he asks if anyone plans on answering that, but they tell him it's for him, and he picks up to the sound of the Quinta leader putting Jenna on the phone, who is completely trashed out of her mind on heroin and doesn't even know what's going on. The men all laugh at Eddie while the Anti-Venom symbiote surges up around him, and they dive at him with chainsaws and machetes and automatic weapons, but Anti-Venom is pissed and starts demolishing all of them, gouging out eyes and breaking bones, thinking about how people like this make their money off of bringing out the evil in others, showing them the old Eddie Brock, and murdering the entire room of men as the Punisher and his sidekick sit outside and listen. Punisher tells his sidekick that Eddie Brock is a mass murderer, and that no matter how useful he is, if Punisher gets a chance, he'll kill him on the spot, which is fairly ironic considering how many people Frank Castle has killed. Punisher once again sends Anti-Venom in first, and gears up with a range of superpowered weapons, including a set of Wolverine-style claws, a belt that is supposed to give him 3 5-second bursts of intangibility, and of course an assortment of other blades and bombs, on top of a winged glider to get out of the compound and rendezvous back with the van. Anti-Venom charges the compound, taking on a hail of bullets from heavy artillery turrets, with Punisher flying in close behind on his Green Goblin-style glider, and these guys don't even know what hit them. Eddie crushes a group of them with a truck, while Punisher uses one of his intangibility bursts to close in and cut the throats of several others. Anti-Venom is just chucking vehicles left and right, leaping around murdering the cartel members, and Punisher uses another burst of intangibility to stick his boot knife into a guy's throat, before squaring off with the cartel leader, who says he looks fucking ridiculous. The last burst of intangibility from the belt malfunctions, and Punisher gets stabbed by the cartel leader before narrowly escaping by grabbing onto his glider, which drops him heavily back at the van as he tells Henry to get him his sniper rifle. Meanwhile, Eddie spots Jenna on a balcony amidst a group of scantily clad women trying to escape the chaos, and while he's distracted, the cartel leader runs him over with a jeep, before getting out with a sledgehammer, smashing Anti-Venom in the face with it while ordering his men to kill the girls for trying to escape. But several of them drop immediately from headshots from the Punisher, who is scoping guys left and right with his sniper rifle. The cartel leader says no one's allowed to retreat, and tells them to kill that junkie, and again, you do not want to press the junkie button with Anti-Venom, who lifts up the entire jeep screaming that she is not a junkie, and smashes it down on the cartel leader. Eddie finally finds Jenna, who is still very much on heroin, and doesn't recognize him until he removes the symbiote, falling into his arms and telling him to get her out of there. And while Eddie smiles and tells her it's okay, we see that Frank Castle has Eddie in the crosshairs, but he seemingly decides not to kill him, which Eddie takes to mean that the Punisher realizes that he's a good guy too. But it's quickly revealed that he was just out of ammo. No change of heart from the Punisher. Jenna tells Eddie that she was going to do that heroin, but that she would get things together and start doing right again tomorrow. And Eddie puts the heel of his boot in the mouth of the cartel leader, who is somehow still alive after having a jeep dropped on him, agreeing with Jenna that they'll both do better, starting tomorrow, and cracks the man's neck with his boot and drives away, leaving a trail of blood, with Jenna telling him that he's her hero. So that wraps up The Punisher vs. Anti-Venom, a great and short story arc for Anti-Venom following his origin in New Ways to Die, continuing the great character development for Eddie Brock and showing that even without Venom, the lasting effects of the symbiote can still be felt, and for someone like him to become a hero, it's a constant struggle to not give in to his darker instincts. Personally, I love Anti-Venom. I think it's a great temporary identity for Eddie Brock, and really reminds me of his days as an anti-hero as Venom in the Lethal Protector arc, which creates 5 new symbiotes and shows Venom trying to be a hero for the first time, and I will be covering that as well as tons of other symbiote storylines. Coming up, I'm going to be doing comic histories on Carnage, Anti-Venom, Agent Venom, and some more Toxin, which for whatever reason is my most popular comic history so far. The symbiotes are my favorite characters in Marvel Comics, and I plan on covering all of them eventually, so if you like this video, make sure to thumbs up and subscribe. Check out my other comic history videos on the symbiotes and other great comic book characters, subscribe to my gaming channel, RNS Gaming, and like and follow us on Facebook.
Aggressive.